Hello again, everyone. Dean Kelley with the Georgia Transparency Coalition, and we're continuing our interviews with the candidates down here in Dalton, Georgia, with the Dalton GOP headquarters, and we're talking to some candidates for county positions. And now we're visiting with Dan Lewallen, and we appreciate you being here today.
Well, thank you for giving the opportunity, and thank the Republican Party for hosting this. And I'm just glad to be here and have this opportunity.
And you're running for District 4.
District 4
New
Commission.
to politics?
Yes, sir. Very new.
Okay. But for those that don't know you, just tell the folks out there a little bit about who you are.
Okay. I was born and raised here in Whitfield County. I split time between my parents' house and my grandparents' farm in the summers. So, like I said, I was raised here. I went to Northwest Whitfield County High School. I graduated from there. After graduating high school, I joined the United States Army. Served in Operation Desert Shield and Operation Desert Storm. After my enlistment ended, I moved back home and I joined the Dalton Police Department. I worked there for about 10 years. And after the 9/11 terror attacks occurred, I felt the calling to go work at the federal level for the United States Air Marshal Service, which is part of the Department of Homeland Security. From there, I worked there 17 years, and I retired a few years ago and moved back home. And I have a small cattle farm, and I'm opening a small business in the west side area of town, or of the county. And so I understand the struggles that come along with operating a small business and a farm. So that's what got me back into the community. And I guess my motivations for running were, as I came back into the community, I noticed that Whitfield County seemed to be coming out of the recession a little bit slower than a lot of the state. I used to do a lot of traveling back and forth to Atlanta, and I would notice a lot of communities were really coming back a lot quicker than Whitfield County was. I always wondered why that was. And I also started looking around, especially in the District 4 area, which is where I live. Towns like Tunnel Hill, areas like the south end of the county, Carbondale area, Red Wine Cove. And I noticed that there just didn't seem to be as much going on. Tunnel Hill used to be a very vibrant little community. And I noticed banks were shutting down, businesses closing down, the pharmacy closing down. And I started asking around to the citizens there, why? Why is this going on? Is this a governmental issue? Is this just the economics, just the way things are now? And an answer I started getting that really troubled me was, we feel like the county's forgotten about us. And within just a few weeks, I was having a conversation with a friend from down in the south end of the county, and they said almost the exact same words. Hey, we're forgotten about down here. They said, look around the county, leaving the highway, all these things are going on, all these things paid for by the county or the state, and they weren't really getting any of those programs down there. So that really bothered me, and I don't feel like any taxpayer or any citizen of Whitfield County should ever feel like their government's forgotten about them. And I hope to change that. I want everybody to feel like they have a voice. And but after I had those conversations, I started looking around at ways that I could possibly help. And I've been very active in my church. And I went to a missions committee meeting in church. And I started looking at what was going on in the church that was helping the community and what's not. And I found out that our food pantry had been closed down for a few years. And I said in that meeting, I said, I'd like to take a map and let's put a pin right where this church is on that map. And I want to make life better for people about a mile radius around that church. And I helped open up the food pantry. I organize it now and kind of run things. We have lots of volunteers that come and help. It's not just me. And I feel like we've succeeded in making life better for some people in that little area. And people started coming to me who knew my stances on some of the political issues. And, for a while they've been saying, you really need to run for office. You really need to run for office. And I was like, no, that's not my thing. Introduce me to someone who feels the same way I do, and I'll fully support them. But time started getting closer to qualifying. And nobody else was going to qualify that I felt like I could get behind. And I knew if I didn't go and qualify and put my heart in to run and trying to make things better, that I wouldn't be able to ever forgive myself for the next 4 years if I didn't get in there and truly try to make a difference. Because I feel like if I can make a difference in that little area around my church, that if I'm put in the right position, that I can work with others and communicate with others, and we can make that the entire county, District 4, the entire county, we can make it a better place for the people of Whitfield County. And I really want to be a part of that. I think we've got a bright future, but we're going to have to make it for ourselves, and I really want to be part of that.
You know, that's true. We're going to have to make it for ourselves. We can't depend on anybody else. We have to make it happen.
Right. Yeah.
What do you see as the major issues going forward, assuming you're elected? What are going to be the major issues that you're going to be focused on?
Well, I guess one of the things that I really talk about a lot when I'm out speaking to people in the community is program evaluation. I think we need to constantly be evaluating everything we're putting money in. Most people don't mind paying taxes, but they want to feel like their taxes are being invested the right way. And that's the way I look at taxes. It's an investment, and everybody expects a return on that investment. And the commissioners have to be good stewards of the county's money. And we have some programs here that I'm not sure have been good investments. We really need to take a look at those and see if we want to continue to invest in them the way we have in the past. If they're not working, let's look at them and see if we can make them work. If they're not going to work, we just need to cut them off, reinvest that money into something that will work, like better quality of life for Whitfield County citizens that are here, or find a way to return that money back to the citizens, whether it's lowering millage rates because we're not spending the same amount of money. There's just some things we can do to make it better for the people who live here.
Are there any specific items that you have in mind that you've been thinking about that you would like to discuss? Or?
Well, I really feel like we need to look at some of the things that the Joint Development Authority's put in place, specifically the industrial park on the south end of the county. You know, it's been there over 10 years. We've got 2 businesses there. We're looking at $314,000 between the city and the county. They're going toward that. If we look at the initial startup fees, we're probably looking upwards of $10 million that have been spent on it. We have 2 businesses there. If you go on one of the company's websites, you'll see the starting wages are about $14 per hour for entry-level jobs. We need diversity as far as businesses go, but we also need competitive wages. And those $14 jobs, those are not really competitive wages against the industries that we already have here. So I feel like instead of strictly looking for companies who are going to come in here, operate for free, give non-competitive wages, and when I say for free, they get all kind of tax abatements.
Right.
And all that's, on the taxpayer's back. I don't really see where that's fair. I feel like that's Whitfield County or through the Joint Development Authorities picking winners and losers. Local businesses suffer from that, small businesses and large businesses. So I feel like we need to really evaluate that program and find out what it's really doing for us, because I'm not sure it's doing what it was intended for. And at the time, I can't say that I would have voted any different than what the people who voted for it back then did. It sounds great, economic diversity, economic growth, economic development. But the fact of the matter is, it's just not bringing in that much diverse companies. So we're in a position now where, coming out of this COVID-19 situation, that I feel like the country was kind of put on pause for a minute, kind of put on hold, if you will. And we really need to decide where we're going to come out of this. There's a push, obviously, in the national scale for a lot of companies that are overseas for us to start pulling a lot of those industries back here. We have plenty of blighted properties here, plenty of empty carpet mills that could be refitted to accommodate many different industries. And if we can't find a way in this political environment to bring some of those jobs from overseas here to Dalton to help the people who are here with some competitive wages, I don't know what else we can do. I mean, to me, it sounds like the perfect time is coming to bring some of those industries to Whitfield County.
Yeah, and hopefully a lot of those businesses, a lot of them already have come back to the United States from overseas, thanks to the tax cuts and the other things that President Trump has done. Of course, today with all the interviews I've done, everybody wants to bring up the importance of small business and and the economic recovery that's still taking place in Whitfield County and other places in Georgia. So how important is, of course, is to bring back small businesses also. Because I think we need to focus on both ends,
Oh, yeah.
big business and small businesses. And I think small business has probably been ignored to a large degree.
I think so. I own a small cattle farm, and I'm in the process of opening a small restaurant out on the west side. I've had to totally retrofit a building out there. It's an old building, but I even, speaking to my wife, I said, even if I could open the doors tomorrow, I wouldn't because of the current environment. And so I can understand where a lot of other small businesses feel the same way. It's you're just kind of in limbo. It's like, do we open? Do we spend the money to get things started back up? What's the future going to hold? I've taken this opportunity to talk to a lot of business owners and leaders, corporate business. I've talked to people in construction. I've talked to people, executives in the banking industry, and it seems like everybody's got something that they learned during this crisis that they're going to take forward with them. And I would specifically ask them, what is a change that you've had to make in business that you wouldn't have done in the past, but you think it might lead to a positive in the future? That example, one of the banking executives I spoke to said they had always been kind of on the fence with some of the electronic signing for some of their loans. This is a small community bank, but nothing ever really pushed them toward it. And they said this forced them into it, and they saw how good it works. So now that's probably going to become part of their program. I spoke to one of the executives within Carpet, and they had been thinking about doing some work from home type stuff. And that ends up working pretty well for them during this crisis. So they say, well, when it's time to get a new lease on some of this property, we may be able to downsize because some of these things worked out better for us. So there's a lot. I think we're going to see a lot of innovation coming out of this. And I think that's going to help small businesses because we've all learned a little something that we might be able to do a little more efficiently. So hopefully those things are going to help small business. But I think a couple of programs that we really need to make sure that we nurture our relationship with is the Georgia Northwestern Technical School and the Career Academy. Those are two programs that teach programs in technology and the trades. And I think we've really focused on bringing a lot of business from outside Whitfield County in. I think we have to really focus on the innovation that we have here. We have some great minds here. I think the next big industry in Whitfield County is not going to come from somebody our age. It's going to come from one of the kids who are in high school right now and probably going through that Career Academy and the Georgia Northwestern Technical School. I think that's something we really need to work. We need to work with those programs
and cultivate it. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's where I feel like small business is going. It's going to be tough, and it's going to take a while to do it. But I said on one of my little Facebook videos that I did that there's two things I can say about citizens of Whitfield County: strong backs and great minds, and that's what it's going to take to get us to the next level where we need to be in small business. Well,
like I said, the coronavirus has certainly created a new normal that we all have to readjust to as we move forward. But like I said, it's going to help push innovation and see where that goes. That's going to be important. I want to change gears on you a little bit. I know you were Sky Marshal.
Yes, sir.
I want to hear a little bit about this. That's got to be how long did you do that?
I did that for 17 years.
Sky. So this is right after Twin Towers.
Yeah, right after 9/11, they opened up the U.S. Air Marshals program, and I applied right after 9/11, and that following February, I got.
So you've flown all over?
Yeah, everywhere. I didn't make it to Australia, and I didn't make it to Russia, but I made it all over Europe, a lot of Asia. But it was interesting. I mean, I got to see a lot of places that I would have never seen before, and it really changes your vision on. I guess it's kind of humbling.
Yeah,
I'd been to some places that Mumbai, India, and you start seeing the struggles of people in Mumbai, India. It makes your problem seem a whole lot smaller.
Yeah,
and so I carry that with me all the time. It's like I may not be able to put myself in their shoes, but I can certainly empathize with their struggle, and that's helped me a lot. Sometimes when I'll kind of start getting down on myself and think, woe's me, things are kind of tough right now.
Or could be in India.
I'll start remembering what those people struggle through. So it's it's made the world a little bit smaller for me, just being able to get out and see a lot of these things and seeing a lot of different governments, how they operate, and see some of the programs. You know, we hear here in the United States, we're on the news and socialism, this kind of a government, and so getting out there and really seeing how they work, it gives you a new perspective on it, and it gives you the opportunity to speak with authority on how they work because you've seen them, you've been there within it. So it was I had a good time doing that, and I learned a lot about the world.
Well, I've always heard that travel broadens the mind, so I'm sure that's the case.
I strongly agree with that. Any chance people have to get out and travel, you know, whether it's international or just here in the United States, get out, travel, see other cultures, you know, see even other cultures within the United States. So I encourage people to get out and broaden your world a little bit.
Did you have any interesting or dangerous experience as on the airlines?
Nothing I can really talk about so much.
Well, I'm sure. But before we go, just take a couple of minutes and tell the voters out there why they need to vote for you, Dan.
Well, I hope you'll give me the opportunity to earn your vote. To me, local politics is just as important as national politics because they truly affect our everyday life. I'm committed to making things better in Whitfield County. I feel like quality of life is the one thing that we're struggling with. People are moving out of the area. People are going to Catoosa County, North Murray County, and Gordon counties. And I hope you'll talk to some of your friends who may have moved out of the county and ask them. I can almost guarantee you one of the things they're going to mention is quality of life. That they feel like their kids don't have the same opportunities as far as things to do. You know, some of the parks. You know, there's just not that many options in Whitfield County like there used to be. And I worked in Dalton at the Dalton Police Department for 10 years. And that was in the 90s where I felt like there was a lot of open communication between Whitfield County and the city of Dalton. And people really worked well together within the governments. And it seems like that's kind of broken down now. But I think if we rebuild some of those relationships and have open communications and start sharing our knowledge, our resources, that we can get Dalton back to where it was in the 90s, where Dalton was the place everybody wanted to be because quality of life was really good compared to the rest of the areas. And I think once we do that, once we get our quality of life where it needs to be, I think you're going to see more businesses coming into the area and some of the businesses that are already here flourish. So I will be very committed to making those things happen. And I hope you feel the same way at home. And I would certainly appreciate your vote at the June 9th primary election.
Fantastic. So you've been listening to Dan Lewallen, candidate for District 4 of the Whitfield County Commission. Thank you for sitting down with us today. Be sure and vote on the 9th of June, and early voting is May 18th. Thank you so much again.